Patagonia, a region in the southernmost tip of South America, 1673. Spanish sailors strolling along the beach discovered something that shocked them. It was a human mummy. There was another reason why they were left in shock. The mummy was estimated to be over 3 meters tall. Something else terrified the sailors as well. The mummy was of conjoined twins, with 2 heads and sharing 1 body. Based on its condition, the body seemed to have been mummified long after the actual death. Shortly after the discovery, the sailors went to ask native inhabitants about the mummy. In the process, they learned that the giant was worshipped as a god by the Tehuelche tribe, the indigenous people of Patagonia. The Tehuelche people stated that, although the origins are unknown, they had been worshipping the mummy for a long time. They also added that this particular giant was not the only one, meaning that there was a large number of giants in Patagonia in the past. According to their legends, the giant was feared in his lifetime. After his death, the fear turned into awe, so his mummy was worshipped by the people. Originally placed on the beach for a religious ceremony, the mummy was accidentally discovered by the Spanish sailors. Thinking that it would sell for a large amount of money, the sailors stole it from the native inhabitants and brought it to their home country. However, hundreds of years later, the mummy went missing. It was not mentioned in any records in 1673. There was nothing referring to its whereabouts as well. There were only rumors about it wandering from one place to another, from the collection of eccentric collectors to the mansions of the rich and even private museums. News about the mummy only came back at the turn of the 19th century. In 1914, British schooner Captain George Bickle heard a rumor about the mummy of a 2-headed giant. Hearing that it was kept in an abandoned warehouse in Paraguay, he went all the way there and located the mummy before returning to the UK. He later sold the mummy to a showman for a high price. A showman means the hosts of freak shows that were popular back then. At the time, Europe was extremely interested in unexplored areas. They believed that there would be monsters or mysterious animals living in those unknown areas they had never been to. A freak show is a sort of theater that takes advantage of these people's curiosity. They would display mutant animals, people with body deformities, disabled people, and others, introducing them to people as monsters from unexplored areas. The 2-headed giant was named Kap-Dwa. It was the freak show's #1 attraction, and numerous people would flock to see it. At 3.6 meters tall with 2 heads attached to its bulky body, people would come to see it and talk about how terrifying it must have been when it was still alive. However, Kap-Dwa was accused of fabrication rumors shortly after its reveal. Rumors began to spread that the showman, aiming for popularity and money, used animal skin and human bones to create the mummy. Suspicions only grew stronger because rumors were the only source of information available about Kap-Dwa. Since that time, people began to search for information and data about the Patagonian giant. If it was actually fabricated for money, the truth would be revealed in no time. The outcome, however, was not what the public expected. In reality, there were many legends of giants in Patagonia, labeled as the region of giants or Regio Gigantum from a long time ago. Giants were worshipped by the native inhabitants of Patagonia as some sort of half-gods. This can also be found in the records of Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan. In 1520, Magellan's fleet boarded the Victoria and made a one-way journey to South America. Magellan recorded that while his fleet was exploring the area near what is now known as Patagonia, he encountered a native inhabitant who was twice as tall as an average person. They had very thick legs compared to their upper body, as well as a wide forehead. This is also mentioned in the records of Antonio Pigafetta, one of the expedition's few survivors and the chronicler of Magellan's expedition. But one day we saw a giant who was on the shore, quite naked, and who danced, leaped, and sang. And while he sang, he threw sand and dust on his head, and he was so tall that the tallest of us only came up to his waist. Withal, he was well proportioned. The captain named the people of this sort Patagoni. The records of giant sightings from Magellan's expedition, however, were interpreted by later scholars as a mere exaggeration. The fact that the native inhabitants of South America were taller than the Portuguese at the time was one reason why. Magellan might have exaggerated what he wrote and illustrated in his records. Some people even argued that, if it was just a record he wrote upon his encounter with a slightly taller native inhabitant of the area, the detailed description, such as them being twice as tall with thick legs, would not have been necessary. Moreover, people would have believed that the giant sighting was based on facts. There is a gap of around 150 years between Magellan's Patagonian giant sighting in 1520 and the Spanish sailor's Kap-Dwa discovery in 1673. Historically speaking, this is not a long period of time. This leads us to question, could Kap-Dwa possibly be a mummified version of a Patagonian giant? There are other records of this matter, as Patagonian giant sightings continued even after 1520. In 1579, English naval officer Francis Drake recorded the sighting of 2.3-meter-tall native inhabitants as he was passing by a beach near Patagonia. In 1590, English sailor Anthony Knivet claimed to have seen 3.7-meter-tall dead bodies off the coast of Patagonia. In the same year, William Adams, an Englishman who was on his way to Tierra del Fuego near Patagonia, recorded his encounter with unnaturally tall natives on the beach. The last sighting was in 1766, when a crew member of the HMS Dolphin, captained by British Commodore John Byron, saw a 2.7-meter-tall indigenous tribe as they were passing by Patagonia. Based on the language of the Taluchi tribe, scholars interpreted Patagon as big feet. Upon discovering that the origin of the name correlates with the giants, scholars began looking for a wider variety of evidence about the Patagonian giants to study the possibility of their existence. Surprisingly, such records can also be found in Greek literature. How Primalian, being on hunting with Palatine and divers other, strayed from them with his squire, and found the grand Patagon, whom he vanquished and brought into subjection. Excerpt from Primalian of Greece, 1512. It was a book containing records of Patagonian giant sightings from 8 years prior to Magellan's expedition. This begs the question, did the Patagonian giants actually exist? Kap-Dwa, the beginning of the Patagonian giant legend spreading throughout Europe, had been on display for 45 years near Burnbeck Pier in North Somerset, England, before it was sold to Lord Thomas Howard in 1959. In 1960, the next year, Howard brought the mummy to renowned doctors in the region to be examined. He then revealed the results to the public to resolve the constant controversy over its authenticity. We took off the clothes of the corpse and looked carefully. However, there were no traces of sutures or bindings. After examining the mummy and conducting radiography on it, the doctors stated that there are no signs that this is a fake. Subsequently, Howard did not respond to any of the public's requests for more detailed examinations, such as autopsy and sampling. People are constantly asking for the truth, even though the examination results have revealed the authenticity of the mummy. The truth is right before them. Howard later stated that he would not conduct further examinations as he was worried about the mummy being damaged or stolen. Some argued that Kap-Dwa did exist in the past and the mummy was real. They added that the giants disappeared after the discovery of the mummy in 1673, before reappearing in the 19th century. Simply put, the giants were in a hiatus for hundreds of years. This means that both the 19th century schooner captain and showman created their own mummies, based on facts and the legend they had learned about. In other words, Kap-Dwa is a Patagonian giant that actually existed in the past, and the Kap-Dwa displayed in one museum to another is a fake. Then again, what is the truth? Kap-Dwa is currently housed in the Antique Man Limited, an old antique shop in Baltimore, Maryland, USA. Shop owner Robert Gerber has claimed that Kap-Dwa is a substantial evidence of the long-extinct giant Homo giganticus. Of course, Gerber also conducted an examination on it with the help of an institution, due to the continuous controversy over its authenticity. Students of Johns Hopkins University, a private research university located in the same area, were involved in the examination as well. They even performed an MRI scan. We found no perceptual evidence that Kap-Dwa is a fake. However, following their statement, the university research team has since been reluctant to reveal additional information about the mummy. This leads us to question, what other secrets could be hidden inside the mummy? Even to this day, it is said that asking to see the mummy is the first thing Gerber's antique shop visitors do. It is also said that taking pictures of the mummy is prohibited and that it is being thoroughly supervised to prevent theft. We now have several questions on this matter. What is the identity of Kap-Dwa, the conjoined twin giant? Is it true that Kap-Dwa was created to make money? Or is Kap-Dwa really the descendant of the Patagonian giants from hundreds of years ago? This has been Strange Night.